race, gender, sexuality, climate. And we're sitting here pointing to that other side's vision and complaining without offering an alternative vision of our own. What do we actually stand for? What does it mean to be a Republican in the year 2024? What does it mean to be an American in the year 2024? To me, it means we believe in the ideals of 1776. And if there's two things I'm going to bring back to this country that we started with in 1776, that George Washington started us off with as the first president that we've lost, they're basic ideas that go beyond black and white or red and blue. The first idea is that the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government. That we, the people, create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. That's not the case today. The people pulling the strings today, they're the people in the deep state, the three-letter agencies. They're the ones really setting policy for this country. That's made a charade of our constitutional republic. There's only one way to fix that. We're not going to do it through incremental reform. We're going to do it by actually shutting it down. That's what this is going to take. And so as your next president, you really want to drain the swamp, here's how I'm going to do it. 75% mass firings that we get started on my first day in office. Half of that will be done in the first year, the remainder through my first term. This is how you drain the swamp. Government agencies that should no longer exist, from the FBI to the ATF to the CDC to the U.S. Department of Education, we're not just reforming them anymore. We're getting in there and shutting them down. That's how you revive the integrity of a constitutional republic in this country. I will not start with last year's budget as the baseline, which is based on the prior year's budget, which is based on the year's budget before that, all of which are broken because they're based on corruption. I'm going to start with zero as the baseline and ask what's actually necessary, zero-based budgeting. That's how I've run my businesses. That's how CEOs across this country run their businesses. That's how I'm going to run the federal government of the United States. And you see, even the thing that Steve King was talking to you about the carbon capture pipeline, comes from excess federal subsidies. When you got a bunch of people showing up to work at a bureaucracy who shouldn't have had that job in the first place, what happens? They find things to do. That's what happens, which is, it's not even just their headcount costs, it's far worse than that. That's what happens in this country. And so we have to stand for what's right. Now, the reality is, we're not going to get any of this done in the long run. I'll get it done as your next president of the executive branch, but in the long run, to drive lasting change, we're not going to do it without elections we can trust and believe in. One of my top legislative priorities in my first 4 years, my top one in my first year, will be to restore elections that we can trust and believe in the United States. I'll restore minimal standards for federal elections, single-day voting on Election Day as a national holiday with paper ballots, government-issued voter ID to match the voter file, and yes, English as the sole language that appears on a ballot. That's not too much to ask. That's not controversial. That is common sense. That's what it's going to take in this country. And you know what? When it comes to domestic policy, I've told you the people we elect to run the government should be the ones who run the government. Well, the duty that they owe is to the citizens of this country, not any other one. America First, to me, does not come with an asterisk. America First means it is my moral duty. Just as a father, my moral duty is to my family. As your next president, my sole moral duty is to you, the citizens of this nation. So that's why I'm not going to use our military forking over $200 billion more of our taxpayer money to places like Ukraine so some kleptocrat can buy a bigger house. That's what's going on today. No, I'm going to use our own military to secure our own southern border and our own northern border too. That's what it means to stand for the rule of law in this country. That's what it means to secure our borders and birthright citizenship for the kids of illegals who should not be in this country, and birthright citizenship does not apply to them. Apply the Constitution that I swear an oath to keep. End federal funding for sanctuary cities and the incentives to be here illegally in the first place. Not only using our military on the southern border, but south of our own border. We won't be giving away our own money as foreign aid willy-nilly to Central American countries, each of which should be building a border wall on their own country's borders all the way from Venezuela to the northern border of Mexico. This is how you address the border crisis in my first 2 months in office. And by the end of my first year in office, yes, we will have mass deportations underway. Anybody who's in this country illegally will be returned to their country of origin, because that's what it means to stand for the rule of law in this country. And I say this as the kid of legal immigrants to this country. It's not racist, it's not xenophobic, it's what it means to stand for the rule of law in the United States. So no, I don't think that's too much to ask, that the people who we elect to run the government should run the government, and that the moral duty they owe is to the citizens of this country, not another one. That's what it means to be an American. Those were the 1776 ideals that this country was founded on. I believe in my heart those ideals still exist. I'm running for president to revive them. It's our creed. It says, e pluribus unum. It means from many, one. That's what we've lost in this country. We've been taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways that we are the same as Americans, bound by that common set of ideals. And here's how we're going to get it back. It's going to be by all of us. Not just me, all of us starting to speak the truth in the open again. Say in public what you'll say in private at the dinner table. Say it with a spine. Say it with conviction. Say it with respect. But part of respect is that you respect your neighbor enough to tell him what you actually think. And you see, that's what this campaign is about. Speaking the truth, not just when it's easy, but when it is hard. Not just to the Democrats on the other side, but to our own side when necessary too. There's a reason I'm the only candidate in this race who can even tell you certain things. That the carbon capture pipeline is absolutely unconstitutional in its use of eminent domain, building its way across half this state, that it's based on a climate change agenda that absolutely is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate, that vaccine manufacturers need to be stripped of their special liability exemptions that are the product of crony capitalism. Where there's been injury, there needs to be justice. To tell you that Ronna McDaniel needs to step down after 5 failed years of leadership of our failed Republican National Committee. To tell you that I will pardon every peaceful J6 protester on my first day in office because that's the right thing to do for this country. There is a reason why I am the only candidate in this race who can even tell you these things. It's because our politics is corrupt. Anymore, every politician is dancing to the tune of their biggest donor, and in my case, that biggest donor is me. I do not report to them. I report to you, the citizens of this country, not another one. I'd rather speak the truth and lose this election than to win by playing some fake game of political snakes and ladders. But my bet is that's the winning strategy. It's not up to me. It's up to you. That's what the Iowa caucus is about. You know, some saw a snowstorm, canceled events in northwest Iowa. We got 4 events. We're keeping them intact. If you can't handle the snow, you're not ready for Xi Jinping. That's my view. We had about 300 people at the last event I did last night. We got home to Des Moines around midnight. I said, I don't care if there's 2 people or there's 30 people or there's 100 people. We're showing up this morning. You make a commitment, you keep it in this country. That's what it means to have a president who actually has a spine. And so if you all do your part, I promise you, my family and I, we will do ours. We will stop at nothing to make sure, not in some fake politician way, but in a true way, to make sure that our country's best days are actually still ahead of us. Thank you for coming this morning, guys. God bless you and your families. This afternoon, it's already by the time we got here. I want to open this up and practice what we preach a little bit. Give me the hard ones. I said I'm going to sit across the table from Xi Jinping. I better be able to handle the hard ones. Thank you for bringing your young ones and family members as well. I want to open this up and don't hold back. Right there, sir.
You say you want to shut down the Department of Ed. Once you shut it down, where do education go from there?
Sure.
Get a state or?
It's a great question. Yeah, I was kind of hitting the high points, but let's get into some details. So, and you can press me on other agencies too, like the FBI. These aren't slogans to me. These are clear plans we've offered and we will implement. So the reason I want to shut down the Department of Education is not because I'm against education in this country, but because I'm for it. Take that $80 billion, which right now is used to foist radical racial and gender ideologies onto schools. That's where it comes from. That's the head of the snake. They say you don't get that money unless you adopt these agendas. Now, the Department of Education, if you actually study the history, it was formed as part of the civil rights movement in the country. You could debate the merits, but at least it was formed to stop certain states in the South that reportedly were using funds for predominantly black school districts to siphon them to predominantly white school districts. That was the basis, say what you will about it. But today that has nothing to do with the purpose. They're literally foisting the poison onto our kids and saying you don't get the money unless you do it. So I'm going to put an end to that, and that $80 billion will mostly go to the pockets of parents in this country who deserve to choose where they send their kids to school. Private, charter, public, homeschooling. Parents determine the education of their children. It's one of the hard truths in the, I don't know if we handed out our Thomas Paine pamphlets today. That's a hard truth. So we have to stand for that. And then against that backdrop, I'd love the public schools to compete against the private schools. Get rid of the top obstacle, teachers' unions, that stop public schools from being able to compete against private schools. Let's bring transparency so parents can make informed choices. If you're going to teach it in the classroom, put it on the internet. Yes. If you don't want to put it on the internet, you shouldn't be teaching it in the classroom. And then I believe in a revival of civic education in this country. That's how you ultimately defeat the woke poison, is not just by playing whack-a-mole, but by diluting it to irrelevance. I think every high school senior who graduates from high school should have to pass the same civics test that every immigrant has to pass in order to become a voting citizen of this country. It just makes sense that we want people who grew up in this country to know the same things that we require of an immigrant before they vote. So it just gives you some sense for how I think about educational reform in this country. I could go on into a lot more technical detail. I actually think it's going to put more money in the pockets of even those kids. 90% of the time, if you switch a kid from a bad school to a good one, you're switching them to a school that spends less money per student. So if parents are able to make that choice, that means there's extra money on the table. I think half that money should go into kids' account. When those kids graduate from high school, many of those kids will have a six-figure graduation gift waiting for them, including even in the inner city. Think about the head start that provides on the American dream. And so this is part of a vision, an implementable one. But it starts with the head of the snake. Shut that Department of Education down. Put the money back to parents. And one piece of this, for a small sliver of that, we can put 3 armed security guards in every school across this country. It's not even close, which is a better use of money. Something like what happened in Perry here just days ago should never happen in this country. Protecting our children is a vital priority, and that's a much better way to protect our children than to foist radical racial and gender ideologies onto them. That's how I would do it.
But,
yep.
Would Sioux City North be in charge of Sioux City North, or would the Sioux City Community School District be in charge of Sioux City North, or would the state?
So that would be decided by the states. So every state would do it differently. So yes, exactly, because I don't think the education should be run by the federal government. But that budget goes back to the states. They only get it functionally to be able to actually, if they're putting it in the pockets of parents. So that means every school effectively, it's a lever to nationalize school choice, which is what I think we need in this country. And then each state determines how it makes those decisions as the educational system should be run. And I'm a 10th Amendment absolutist. That which is not reserved to the federal government is reserved respectively to the states and to the people. So we'll, of course, follow those principles. But it starts with, right now, we're not following the principles by collecting and concentrating that money in the federal government. Give it back to the states and to the people. Good question. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sir.
Mr. Ramaswamy, I'm a libertarian. Very impressed by your campaign. I'm so impressed that I flew here from Montana just to see you.
Oh, wow. You're used to the snow.
Yeah, this is balmy for me. I'm the founder and editor of LibertyPortal.com, at LibertyPortal on Twitter. And we don't need a red wave. We need a Ramaswamy tsunami.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
A couple of,
I like that.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions here from some other folks on Twitter. At Jack V. Lloyd wants to know how you feel about military conscription. And then a second question from Purple Pirate, at Purple_Pirate. He wants to know your stance on the Federal Reserve. And I would add to that, I've heard you talk about wanting to back the dollar with a basket of commodities. I'd like to hear you say more about that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll address both. The answer to your first question, the most direct answer is no. I'm against conscription. But I believe in the revival of civic duty, which we're missing. And so for those who do advocate for it, I understand where they're coming from. I just don't think it's the American way to do it. I prefer other forms of civic duty. And so what I've laid out is I think every high school senior who graduates from high school should be able to pass that same civics test. If they can't, then I do favor either 6 months of military or first responder service as a condition to acquire the right to vote at the age of 18. I think you got to have skin in the game. Our founding fathers believed landowners had skin in the game. I don't think that's the right way to do it, but civic duty is. We already demanded of immigrants apply the same standard to our own citizens. And so I get about as close to that concept as anybody has in the modern history of our party. But I don't think that mandated at behest of going to jail is the right way to go. I think you have to come to that civic duty through your own volition, through your own choice to actually value the heart of what that civic duty actually is, rather than doing it at behest of a government that puts a gun to your head. So that's where I land on that question, which is a good one. As it relates to the Federal Reserve, I mean, this is the head of a different snake that we need to shut down in a different way. It's been money raining from on high like manna from heaven for 25 years, artificial with the printer machine running. It's fake. It's artificial snow that we've been skiing on. It's not the real thing. Now the snow machine turns off and you see what happens. You see the tide recedes, you see the detritus that's left. So I could go on all day about this one, but I'll get to the punchline, which is that I'm going to have a 90% headcount reduction at the U.S. Federal Reserve. Again, part of the problem is you got a bunch of people showing up to work who shouldn't have had that job in the first place. They find things to do. That's where the poison comes from. That's where the central bank digital currency comes from. For those of you, just by show of hands, does anyone know what I'm referring to there, the CBDC? A couple of you. They want to digitize the dollar. Why? To be able to violate your liberties. That's why China's doing it, to say if you say something or do something the government disagrees with, you can just wipe out your bank account. They effectively did a version of this to the Canadian truckers in the Freedom Envoy. You guys might remember that one. Well, it's not how we're doing it here in the United States of America. Put an end to that. And then that 90% headcount reduction. Why? I don't need that many employees to do what the Fed needs to do. Stabilize the dollar as a unit of measurement. It ties back to this. It's got to mean something. It's got to be grounded in something of actual, real, true value. So there's one of the objections to the gold standard is what happens if gold ever becomes volatile. So I'll just say, the same spirit, a basket of commodities. Gold, silver, nickel, agricultural, farm commodities. That's a blended basket. Peg the dollar by rule to that basket, period. It's grounded of something that has real value. That takes the legs out from the so-called BRICS program, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, that are planning to create a gold-backed currency to replace the dollar as the reserve currency of the world. That's wrong. That's not in our interest, and that's how I'm going to end it. So thank you for the thoughtful questions. Thank you for flying here to be here all the way here. How long are you staying?
I'm leaving tomorrow.
Okay. Well, if you want to talk to some Iowa Caucus scores for us while you're here, we'll take it. I think winning Iowa is going to be the most important step to my getting there, and that's why we're here to ask you for your help, and I'm grateful for you that, sir.
Hey, Vivek. I flew from Florida.
Oh, you did? Good. We got a lot of outsiders.
Yeah, I like the weather down there a lot more than I like it up here.
It's okay. It's okay up here.
I'm a retired Marine Corps infantry officer, and I'm seriously concerned about the wokeism that's infected all the other branches of the service, but now the Marine Corps as well. And I mean, it makes me sick.
Yeah.
And I would just like your thoughts on that.
Sure. So first is we need to clean house at the Pentagon. It's been infested by people who have used this, what I call woke smoke, to deflect accountability for their own failures. And the trick here is a lot of these criticisms of the military used to come from the left in the era of the Iraq War. That was a left-wing criticism. So what they do, they actually flip the script and said, oh, we'll just talk about systemic racism and white rage if you're General Mark Milley or whatever. It's woke smoke to deflect accountability from the criticism that used to come from the left. That's cynically, I think, where a lot of this came from. I'll end Lyndon Johnson's executive order. You know, I have no reason to know what this was, but it's called 11246, was the executive order that mandated anybody who does business with the federal government adopt racial and gender quota systems. First of all, it's unconstitutional as an executive order. It should have never been passed. But B, it's foist the wrong ideology onto the private sector. And at that same time, we had the beginnings, the early seeds that were planted for a lot of that infesting our own military as well. Clean house at the top of the Pentagon. Get the woke indoctrination out of the military. One of the ways to do it is even stop measuring the nonsense. Are you Hispanic American, Asian American, gay American? No, just American. One box. Thank you if you're serving this country. We're American, not hyphenated. If you stop measuring the nonsense, that kind of is the first step in eradicating the mind virus. And this is why we have a 25% recruitment deficit in the U.S. military. It's really young people don't want to serve a country they're taught to hate. Young people aren't inspired to serve in a military that has abandoned or at least diluted its core mission in favor of these orthogonal social agendas. When the best person for the job gets the job when the person who gets the job doesn't get it because they're the best person, but because of their skin color in terms of who gets promoted. We're going to put an end to that. These racial group quota systems have been toxic for merit in America. And that's comes from the commander-in-chief. And the beauty of these questions is, and everything I told you except for the election standards that we're going to set for the country, everything else I've told you so far, I will deliver for you as your next president without having to ask Congress for permission or for forgiveness, because it comes through running the executive branch of government. It's going to take a CEO to get that job done. I know that if somebody works for you and you can't fire them, that means they don't work for you, right? It means you work for them because you're responsible for what they do without any authority to change it. I'm not going to be a hollowed out husk of a puppet sitting in that White House. That's what it's going to take to actually revive that executive branch and then revive who we are as Americans. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. We'll go right there. Thank you very much. Then we'll come up to you, sir.
My name is Priya Jaiswal, and I come from California.
Thank you.
And
I'm so grateful to all of you who have traveled far from here. I appreciate
I
that.
was not coming here at all. I was going for Washington, D.C.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you got grounded. You
And God is real, which I had to, people are like, FBI is so corrupted right now. I'm standing here for the national security. My husband was a terrorist. He was arrested for a terrorism case, which I revealed everything, every possible thing which I had information to FBI. And he was arrested last year. And FBI and his name is, the FBI agent name is S.A. George Claudius. And he and my daughter is a U.S. citizen. She was she was forcefully made Muslim, from his father. His name is Nikhil Jaiswal, who was arrested. And, each and every detail my daughter and my son has given to the FBI, that he's a terrorist, he's a very dangerous Al-Qaeda member, an informer of, Al-Qaeda. They stood for their lives, risked their life and gave information to FBI and to the government. And the deputy district attorney, her name is Shanti Gopalan. She comes to my daughter's school in Cupertino High School, that is in California Bay Area, and she takes a wrong statements, forceful statements at the school premises, and my husband gets released on that, on false statements, which she has, expressed everything to FBI, and all the evidences, taking the statements and everything was watched by, two friends of hers that are the evidences,
I'm sorry for what your family has gone through. It sounds like a complicated series of events.
And the principal of Monte Vista, one of my son's, my son, my husband comes to, after releasing, he comes to my son's school, and he's taking him to, showing him guns, showing him everything, and that he reported to the principal that this is happening to me in the lunchtime. And the principal calls the Deputy Patel. His name is Deputy Patel, and that Patel comes to the school, and he along with this Deputy District Attorney Shanti Gopalan makes
Ma'am, if I just make, because I want to be respectful of you and also everyone else here to take the spirit of your question to address it in a way we can actually address. But
the spirit of my question
is a broken
I'm
law
coming,
enforcement
standing
apparatus.
Here, we all are standing here, me and my family, like all are standing here for national security, risking our life. You know, corruption is so much. Last year, Laura Smith was arrested for the corruption charges in Cupertino, where I lived. So,
how are we going to address it is the point.
So the point is only one thing I'm trying to say. You, as a president, as a commander, you're going to be next. As a normal citizen, what my children, you know, they're standing for the nation, risking their life and telling everything to, to the government. And these people have taken bribe, and all the evidences are there. You know, I have gone to Seattle. I have come.
So I'm going to take the opportunity to address how I feel about some of the issues you have raised, ma'am. And this gentleman has a question right here, and I want to be respectful of him to give him a chance.
Yeah.
So if we'll pass the microphone to this gentleman, but I want to address what you said.
So
Thank you for sharing it, ma'am.
One thing I would like to say, the principal of the school has apologized for the framing of on the video. He has apologized for the framing of taking bribe and everything.
Okay.
What my son has reported.
So
to
thank
the
you.
principal.
Thank you.
So,
I have to tell you, I'm going to always be guided by the facts, and I obviously do not have the facts of the specific situation your family has endured. You're clearly somebody who came here to speak and properly be heard, and I respect that. What I will say is about our national security establishment, I want to say two things. You brought up the word corruption. I think it's an accurate word to use to describe the weaponization of our national security establishment. I think that's accurate. And one thing I can tell you, not about the facts of your specific case, but about the facts of the reality of our national security establishment, is this cannot be reformed incrementally. This has to be reformed from the ground up. And so there are other presidential candidates who will say things like, with the best of intentions, we'll fire Christopher Wray, who's the director of the FBI. I don't think that does a thing. You get James Comey 2.0 afterwards. I think people who are saying this to you, they're lying, but they don't know they're lying to you. They think they're lying to themselves. If you want to fix this, you have to gut the bureaucracy at its core. I answered your question about the Department of Education. Let me answer that about the FBI. What does shutting down the FBI look like? What I call the failed Bureau of Investigation. There's 35,000 employees at the FBI. 20,000 of them are back office bureaucrats at the J. Edgar Hoover Building in Washington, D.C. They still call it the J. Edgar Hoover Building. Tells you a lot. They're going to go home and find honest work in the private sector. 15,000 of them are cops, investigative agents on the front lines. We will move them to the U.S. Marshals, which has been far more effective at fighting child sex trafficking rings and even the fentanyl epidemic in this country. Move them to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network at the U.S. Treasury to go after the future SBFs and the FTXs, financial fraudsters. So that's at once how we will actually improve the effectiveness of what our law enforcement is supposed to be doing while ending the corruption. And then this is the part I was going to get to. If what happened on October 7th can happen in Israel, that can happen right here at home in the United States of America. And I think we're now more vulnerable to it than we have ever been with a porous southern border. People are flowing in. I mean, if this was happening at the western border with 3 million Chinese coming to the west coast of the United States or 3 million Iranians coming to the east coast of the United States, on the western or eastern border, we'd call that what it is. It's an invasion. It's not that different when you have millions crossing our own southern border, including from those Islamic watch countries. The night before I visited the southern border, 2 men from Lebanon were apprehended at that southern border. Why are they traveling all over the United States to Mexico to cross illegally over that southern border? And so we're now more vulnerable to attacks on our own soil than we've ever been. And I think part of the problem is we've had a national defense establishment that has been so focused on fighting other wars abroad that haven't advanced our interests from places from Iraq to Afghanistan, now in Ukraine, if I may say it as well, that they've forgotten to protect our own homeland right here at home. And so we're going to do that the right way while standing for the Constitution, while actually dismantling a lot of that.
FBI had the information, they didn't.
Well, I have a lot of issues with the FBI, ma'am, and this may be, if I learn more about this, perhaps this will be one more, yet on a very long list. But my answer is we're going to shut it down and actually reorganize this to parts of the government that haven't been corrupted like the U.S. Marshals in the same way. I thank you for being here, and I want to go to this gentleman to be able to ask his question.
I believe that the best economies are built on cheap and abundant energy. That's why
We share that belief.
the United States did so well in the last century with fossil fuels being cheap and abundant, but now they're getting more and more expensive to get to, and the lack of investment with the Green New failure and all that. What's your thoughts
I like that.
on
the
nuclear
right
and
way.
reducing some of the red tape to
Yeah.
go with what I think is our best option for cheap and abundant energy?
So you want to address the core economic malaise in this country. Prices are going up. Wages have stayed flat, while interest rates and mortgage rates have gone up. I mean, Bidenomics, mumbo jumbo aside, that's what's going on in the country. You want to fight the national debt? We got a $34 trillion national debt crisis. Young people in this room have about $200,000 of just national debt, not even including unfunded liabilities for entitlements, on their shoulders that they didn't sign up for. The answer to addressing both of these things, growing the economy and fighting our national debt, starts at the same place. Get the oil and natural gas out from underneath our ground, sell it. That instantly buys down $8 trillion of our national debt and begins to grow this economy. Now, my energy policy is as much energy abundance as we can have in the United States of America. Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear energy. And the irony is this climate cult, and it is a cult. I don't call it a religion because a religion has withstood the test of time. A cult has not. The climate cult is hostile to fossil fuels, but it's the same people who are hostile to fossil fuels who are also hostile to nuclear energy in the United States. That wouldn't make sense if you're applying principles of logic. But there's something else going on here. The climate agenda has nothing to do with the climate. It's actually about letting China catch up to the United States. Nuclear energy might be too good at solving their made-up crisis. And that's why they're against nuclear energy for the same reason they're against fossil fuels. And you want to know which country burned more coal than it ever has in all of its history? It's China last year. You want to know which country burned less coal than it ever has last year? It's the United States. You want to know which country has a Gen 4, that's the most advanced form of nuclear reactor? That's China. Well, we're still stuck at Gen 2 in the United States because of three-letter agencies, including in the Department of Energy, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, that has been hostile to the construction of a new nuclear power plant in the United States of America. So I've said on that agency list of agencies to shut down, and I'm not giving this to you on the fly. We've laid this plan out 6 months ago, and it's on our list. Shutting down the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. It has failed and abandoned its purpose. And any institution that abandons its purpose can't be reformed at a certain point in time. It has to be shut down. Unlock energy of every form in this country. That's how we revive our national identity. It's how we revive this economy, and it's how I'm going to lead this country. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that question. We have time for probably one or two final questions before we wrap up. We'll go to the back right there.
My name is Angie, and I support, I sell technology into our government contractors supporting government missions. We also have a construction company. What is your plan for inflation/unemployment? Because we can't find people that are skilled to work for us. So people who work for us, they'll show up every day, but they're not skilled. And that also goes along with inflation. You know, they keep seeing the rates go up because they don't have money.
So thank you. There's a few things going on in the country right now. I'm going to give you the biggest answer right off the bat. We're paying people more money to stay at home instead of go to work. So if you're a small business owner or a large business owner, the top obstacle to growing your business right now is actually filling those open positions. And so I think that's a shame. I think that we need to stop using our taxpayer money to pay people to do the exact opposite of what's even best for them, actually. So once we pull that back, you at least unlock the supply of labor as opposed to the artificial blanket on the labor supply. Now, other ways we got to do this is also support forms of education, or at least don't get in the way of forms of education that might actually provide people with skills through 2-year or 1-year vocational programs. To be a welder, carpenter, mechanic, builder, even basic forms of coding and technology do not require 4-year college degrees. Yet the Department of Education, the one that I said I would shut down, is, again, one of the root causes here. Using our taxpayer money to artificially tilt the scales towards being a gender studies major in California, you can get that subsidized, but without actually generating useful skills to help promote our own economy. So my answer there also relates to a broader theme of how I'm going to lead this country. We will stop using our taxpayer money to pay people to do the exact opposite of what's best for them in a wide range of ways. We're paying single mothers more money not to have a man in the house than to have a married man in the house. It's no accident that we now have a 25% fatherlessness epidemic in the United States of America, which means you're 10 times more likely not to graduate from high school, 8 times more likely to end up in prison, multiple times more likely to end up in poverty. We're paying for it, using our taxpayer money to do it. I've visited places like the south side of Chicago. Black mothers today are the ones actually targeted by this policy since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, the biggest misnomer in our history since the 1960s. Black family formation was actually much higher in the 1950s and 60s than it is today. It's not just among black Americans. It goes across all racial groups right now. I'm going to stop using federal aid programs in places like the inner city of Kensington and Philadelphia that I've visited. They're giving away crack pipes and needles in the name of helping drug addicts. Paying people more money not to repay their student loans than to repay their student loans. More money not to go to work than to go to work. And the ultimate tragedy here is not only does that hurt our economy and business owners like yourself, it's not even good for the very people you're supposedly helping. People my age and younger. I'm the youngest person ever to run for U.S. president as a Republican. I'm 38. Now, I think these revolutions, these revivals, they tend to be led by the next generation for a reason. Thomas Jefferson was 33 years old when he wrote the Declaration of Independence, actually. That's part of the reason why I think it takes somebody whose best days in life are still ahead to see a country whose best days are still ahead of itself. I think it takes that. But I can speak for my generation today. It's not good when you have most people my age or younger now, for the first time in our history, depending on incomes that provide just aid from their parents outside of actually working for it. Sitting in your parents' basement, playing video games, smoking pot. Is that helping you if you collect an extra check from the government along the way? No, it's driving a mental health epidemic in this country. And I think that's part of something deeper going on. We've heard questions about our economy. We've heard questions about my domestic policy, foreign policy. It's downstream of a deeper cancer in our country. We have a hole in our heart, a black hole. When you have a vacuum that runs that deep, we're hungry for purpose and meaning and identity at a moment when faith, patriotism, hard work, family, these things have disappeared. And that leaves that moral vacuum in our hearts. And when you have that vacuum that runs that deep, that is when the poison fills the void. You can pick your favorite one. We talked about one of them in the case of the military. Wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, COVIDism, depression, anxiety, fentanyl, suicide. It's not an accident that we see the rise of these same poisons at the same time. These are symptoms of a deeper void of purpose and meaning in our country. And I think one of the things we've failed to do as a Republican Party, for a long time, we've been running from something. Now is our moment to actually start running to something. Back to our vision of what it means to be an American today. Individual, family, nation, God. That beats race, gender, sexuality, and climate if we have the courage to actually stand for something. And I think the challenge for our conservative movement right now is what happens when the things that you're looking to conserve, hard work on that list, work ethic. What happens when those basic values you seek to conserve, when they've disappeared? We have to recreate them, actually. And that's why I do think now more than ever it is going to take somebody from the next generation. Somebody coming in from the outside with fresh legs to reach and lead that new generation of Americans. Just by way of show of hands, how many of you have participated in Iowa Caucus in the past? Good number of you. And how many of you are considering being first-time caucus goers here in Iowa? Good number of you as well. You have a decision to make in about 7 days, the Iowa Caucus, on January 15th. I'm going to ask you to open your eyes to where we are. Many of our supporters are considering whether to go with Donald Trump, whether to go with me. I think there's 2 America First candidates in this race. I think it's going to take somebody from the next generation with fresh legs to lead our America First movement to the next level. I think it's going to take somebody who stands for our national character. That's half the job of the next U.S. president. Not just passing the policies, but as a very pragmatic matter, for those of you who maybe considering exactly that choice. If you think they're going to let this man get anywhere near the White House again, I'd ask you to open your eyes. I don't think that the system is going to stop at nothing to keep this man away from the White House. And our America First movement, it didn't begin in 2016. It began in 1776, and we owe it to our founding fathers and to this country to make sure we have another 250 years and then some left in our life as a nation. Our movement cannot end with Donald Trump. This movement does not belong to Donald Trump just as it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you, to us, to we the people in this country. And I'm in this race to take that America First agenda to the next level. And I believe I can do that in a way that nobody else in this race can. Reagan, when he left office in January of 1989, of all the things he could have said he was proud of, bringing us to the near end of the Cold War, growing the economy, getting us out of stagflation. He could go through the whole list of accomplishments. He didn't pick any of those things. The thing he said he was most proud of when he left that office in January of 89 was to have revived our national character, to answer who we are as Americans, a national character that we lacked when he took office in 81. When I leave office in January of 2033 after 2 terms, if you all put us there, there's a lot I want to tell you, that we shut down the deep state. I think I'm going to get that job done better than anybody else in this race. We know how to do it. It's going to take an outsider and somebody who knows the Constitution. We're going to get that done. To grow this economy, to declare independence from communist China, having actually secured our national borders and our own homeland. To tell you that we grew this economy as a result of that as well. Stayed out of World War III in the process. I'm going to tell you all of that. But the thing I most want to tell you is that our 2 sons and their generation, that they are once again proud to be citizens of this nation. That we've addressed that vacuum in our heart, that I'm going to do my part. It's going to take parents and pastors and teachers and coaches across this country to do theirs. But I'm going to do mine as the next president to revive our national identity. That's how we win. That's how we dilute the other side's poison to irrelevance. And if we do, then we don't anymore have to be this nation in decline that we've become. We don't have to be at the end of the ancient Roman Empire. I think what George Washington would say if he were in this room with us right now, I believe what he would say, is that we still see a nation that's really just a little young, actually. Going through our own version of our adolescence. Figuring out who we're going to be when we grow up. And when you view it that way, it makes sense again. You go through your adolescence, you go through that identity crisis, you lose your way a little bit. But we are stronger for it when we get to our adulthood on the other side. So no, I don't think we have to be this nation in decline anymore. I think we still can be a nation in our ascent. I'm not going to be the guy who walks in here and tells you that it's morning in America right now, because it's not. But it can be. I'm not going to tell you the American dream is alive and well. It is not. It is alive and hanging on for life support right now. But it can be. If you all do your part, and that's what I'm asking you to do on January 15th, you pick the next president. You certainly have a disproportionate role in picking the next president. You also set the platform for this party. Both of those things are important on January 15th. I'm asking you to take 30 minutes of your time to save this country. And if you all do your part, I promise you, Apurva and I and our family, we're going to do ours to make sure we look our kids in the eye and tell them that this is still the country where no matter who you are, or where your parents came from, or what your skin color is, that you do get ahead in this country with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication. And that you know what? You are free to speak your minds at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to. And with your help, and I'm asking you for your vote on January 15th, with your help, that is what we are going to revive to save this great country. Thank you for coming today, guys. God bless you and your families, and may God bless our United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you being here.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's such an honor to meet you.
It
almost makes you want to
United States of
to
America.
hear what you
Please
say.
contact cards this afternoon.
God has put you here,
Dylan,
man,
our other
for a reason.
staff members,
I appreciate it.
And if anything I can do in Florida, if anything I can do for you in Florida, my name's on there. And I wanted to give you these
If
two.
you're able to make phone calls for us, that would
Yeah,
be
absolutely. I want to just give you those 2 books. I just want to say real quick,
Thank you.
I know that Jesus is the Son of God. You think he's maybe a Son of God?
Yes.
And you're a reason and an evidence guy?
Yeah.
Well, the reason part is either he's right or you're right, because he says he is. Okay, so somebody's got it right, somebody's
I
got it wrong.
understand.
Okay. And
My
the
goal is
second
to
part-
swear an
the
oath
second-
to the
the
Constitution
second-
and to
no,
keep
I
it.
understand.
Yeah, and I will.
And I'm going to vote for you.
Thank
okay?
you.
I'm gonna,
Thank you. I appreciate this. It
regardless
means
of
a
how
lot.
you come out
Thank
on
you.
this.
Thank
And
you.
the other thing is just look at the evidence.
Yes.
Just, and make your choice.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
God, I love you, man.
I appreciate it. Love you back. Thank
And,
you.
uh,
No, I
thank you.
appreciate that, and it comes from a good place in your heart, and that's what we're reviving
Thanks
this
for
from.
doing what you're doing.
Thank you for being here and saying so.
you bet.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate the volunteer effort, too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You remember me?
Good to see you again. You have to tell me again. I'm sorry.
You made a promise to me, and you asked if I'd vote for you, and I said, yes, I would. If you listened to me present the gospel.
Oh, you did. Yes.
Yes.
And it was in that evening event. Absolutely. May we do that?
Right now,
Thank you.
where can we go?
How about right outside of this room?
Good to go. When you're ready.
When you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I came up
This is
for-
my friend.
Thank you.
I'm a retired Marine.
Thank you.
He's a
I do
retired
remember
Marine.
you.
Yep.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
at the end of that event,
Yep.
and I told you we'd come back, and here we are.
Yep.
And here we are.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
That means a lot to me.
one
Thank
I'll wait
you.
on you.
Thank you. Please do.
I'm a tennis player too.
Oh, you are?
Do you hit a one-handed or two-handed?
I have a one-hander. I broke my wrist. I broke my wrist in high school, so
I'm
I
for sure
switched to
vote for you
one-hander.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's good. You can't switch back to two.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Nicholas.
Good to see you, man.
Nice to meet
You
you.
from around here?
Yep, Sioux City area.
Amazing.
Right? So I do have a question for you.
Sure. You came in a little late. so
I came in a little
yeah.
late. I'm a teacher. I'm a 20-year teacher here in the area.
Yep.
And I was in a Zoom meeting with snow day and everything. Question for you. And you may have talked about this also, but why, as a public school teacher, should I vote for you?
Yes.
In terms of, and a couple of things that considering school safety.
Yep. 3 armed security guards per school. I was the first person to talk about it. We have a clear plan to do it. The funds from that Department of Education, better than paying bureaucrats, is better to pay armed security guards in schools. And that protects teachers, too. And the second is I actually favor merit-based compensation for teachers. I think the best public school teachers should be getting paid a lot more than they are now, because you'll know as well as I, there's a major retention problem of the very best.
There is, yeah.
So there's 2 answers to your question. We actually had a detailed discussion of this.
Yeah.
But I think that empowering parents to choose where they send their kids to school, while also rewarding the very best in the public schools.
Okay.
That's actually how we're going to do this in 3 armed security guards. We'll get that answer.
Wonderful. Can I do a
appreciate
quick,
that.
quick
Yeah, let's do it.
picture
Let's do it.
of
I would
this
love
real
it.
quick?
I would love it.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you.
that'd be perfect.
Thank you. Have you
Yeah.
spread the message or in this community? Have you done the caucus before?
I have. It's. I'm an independent, so I've gone to the
But I'd love-
Democrat one and
I'd
the
love if you
Republican
come to
one.
this
So,
one.
yeah,
Thank
can
you,
I do
man.
this?
Yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you, man.
Hey, thank you
I
very much.
appreciate that.
Appreciate
Thank you.
meeting you.
Thank you. It means a lot. Yes, let's do it. Thank you, man.
I brought something else for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, brother.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, man. You brought something for me?
Yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
This is one of my
Oh, I'm
company's
awesome, man.
tasty
We're going to take
beverages.
this. I'm going to take a look at this. Kombucha. Apurva might even like this.
Check out on the side.
I love it.
Save Women's Sports.
I love it. And actually standing
My-
for truth. Thank you, man. I appreciate
My
it.
business partner is
Thank
a
you.
huge fan of yours. I was wondering if I can get one of these cans signed.
I can sign one real quick, and then I want to say hello to some of these folks. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tell them thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Good
All
luck.
the best. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you. How are you?
Sir. It's
Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. My wife's a teacher.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
and she's doesn't have to talk me into helping you out. You just
Thank you.
You have expressed that vision so clearly.
Thank you. If you spread the message in
And
this
it
community,
really-
we're going to do our part. I appreciate that. You live around here?
I do.
Thank
do.
you.
And thank you for
Tell your wife thank you as well for her service.
You started rephrasing your message about the next generation to say that we have our best days
ahead of us. I want people to say that because it's my conviction.
Yes, because before you were saying to someone from a new generation, a different generation, it made people in my generation, I think, maybe feel a little undervalued because society makes us feel that way
and that's
already.
not the way that I intended it. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for noticing
the way that you've started to phrase that again, because my father-in-law is 80, and sometimes I feel like he doesn't care how things are going to go in this country because they don't have that much time left. So
I appreciate that. Would you like to take a picture, sir? We would love that.
You.
Thank you. And tell your father-in-law the same message for me.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello.
It's good to see you. What's your name?
Jesse.
Jesse. You from around here?
Yep.
Awesome.
One of the few.
Spread the message, brother. I would love that.
Yeah. Can I get a picture?
Yeah. Have you done the Iowa Caucus before?
Yes, I have.
Gavin, you want to take this? Thank you.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, brother. If you spread the message here,
bring
a bunch of people to the caucus. I think we're going to do this. Thank you, man. You guys from around here?
Yeah.
Awesome. Have you done the Iowa Caucus before?
No, I have not.
You got it. I saw you raise your hand the first time. I thought, yeah you did too.
18, so I just registered.
Awesome. Shock the system. Bring a bunch of people in this community out. That's how we're going to do this, guys. Thank you.
One over here.
So we have some organizations.
Thank you. I'm sorry for what your family went through, but thank you. I wish you all the best.
For the truth I come and for the national security I'm striving.
Thank you.
I have already written to White House, to Kamala Harris, and also I was going to meet the president to Washington.
Pray for your
DC.
family. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Good to see you.
Good to see you again, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm in the caucus for you next Monday.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Real quick, I want to tell you this, that after the caucus, I want to help your campaign even more.
Yes, we would welcome that for the national campaign.
I'm very connected in the VA system, and that's an 8 million block of voters there that people just
It's undervalued,
ignore.
and it's the ones we actually have a clear plan to serve them, too.
Exactly.
You're saying the people who work in the VA system. The people who work in the VA system, you're saying, or the people who actually are served by it? The people who are served by it are what we care about.
Exactly. At any rate, I've published 3 books about the VA. One, how to make it better.
Yes.
So I'm very connected.
I would love that.
So I would like to be a surrogate and go around and give talks to the veterans on your behalf.
If you talk to her, we would love that. After the Iowa caucus, help us win the caucus first. That's the next step, and then after that, I would actually love that. That'd be great. Thank you.
So
good to see you,
we
brother.
would like to get a picture.
Thank you. You guys from around here?
I'm going to be your precinct captain.
Oh, you are, brother.
Yeah.
Bring people out for us, and we're going to dominate.
We are.
this.
We
Thank
are.
you.
We've already got a round.
I like
We're going
the
to shock
coat, by
the
the
world.
way.
Thank you, man.
I commented
appreciate
on your
it.
live show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I go to college up at.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you. All the best. Thank you.
No, you're good.
Thank you. What's that?
We're gonna get it.
Oh no, not right here. Right here. We can quickly do one. Quickly do one. Quickly do one. Fine. Where's it? Where is it? Because I'm going to have a meet with the pastor. Hey, pastor. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. What's your name?
Randy Tremaine.
Randy. Yep. Spread the message in this community. We're going to do this.
Yep.
We're going to do this.
My one was
Thank you,
blurry.
man.
Can I get
Oh,
another
sure.
real quick? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Good
it.
to see you. Thank you. We're going to do it outside. I was saying to Pastor Gordon. Do we have time for that? Okay. You have time for that? Okay, good. Hey, Pastor Gordon. Good to see you in person. Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me to come.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate you being here. Hopefully we'll get to spend a few minutes together.
Yeah, I'd love to. It'd be great.
We're going to do an interview outside and then afterwards. Oh, good.
Okay.
Well, this gentleman's brought me a...
He's with me.
Oh, you know each other. Okay.
I'm here because of him.
Oh, is that right? Well, can we sit down together then?
Yes, absolutely.
We'd love that. And then I'll sit down with... we'll chat for a few minutes as well. Yeah. That'd be great. We would love that. Let me just take a few minutes that they're going to pull me into some interview and then... Oh, no, thank you. We're going to be just a couple minutes and then we'll be that right after. Thank you.
Nice.
Hey, guys. Thank you for being here. What's your name? Mary. I'm Vivek. Hey, good to see you. Thank you guys for being here, guys. We'd love to have you at the caucus.
One question.
Yeah?
We pray every day for God's.
Yes. Yes. That's what guides us. It's being done through us, not by us. You have my word on that. So we revive that for the next generation in this country, too, is that sense of faith and purpose that we're missing. So I'm going to do my part for that. I promise you that. Thank you. Have you participated in the Iowa Caucus before? Thank you. I'd be immensely grateful if you spread this positive message for our country and this community. And I think that that's something that, if we do it, our best days can be ahead of us. And I will ask you if you're willing to pray for our family as well and our country. So thank you. Thank you. Tell me about you, sir.
My name's Josh.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm a teacher here at CCA.
These are your kids? Nice.
2 daughters.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys for coming out today. And we're going to do our part. Poor Vanai, she couldn't be here. She's doing other events, but she's a hero for this country as well. And hopefully she sets an example that both of us hold us to the standard where you can look your kids in the eye and tell them, I want you to grow up and be like them. That's the standard I want you to hold us to. And I think that's going to be reviving our character as well. I'd be honored to have your vote.
I love the
Thank you.
Caucus.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. Common sense. That's what it started with. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, where are we doing it? Okay. Hey. Yeah, we're going to talk to the press real quick. Yeah, thank you. And then where are we doing it?
I think outside.
Okay, and then I got to sit down with one of the pastors who came here. Hey, thank you. Hey. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, where are we doing the gaggle? Where are we doing the gaggle?
It's about 50, 60 feet away.
Okay, thank you.
But really watch your step.
Fine, sounds good. We have to keep this pretty short because I have to sit down with Kerry Gordon. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start with you, Aaron.
You just decided not to cancel your events today, obviously.
Can you turn off the bus? Yeah, just turn it off. What? Just in case it doesn't start up? Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah,
Got
you
it. Okay.
decided not to cancel your events today. Obviously, other campaigns have canceled their events due to the snow. What was the decision behind keeping it?
If you can't handle the snow, you're not ready for Xi Jinping. Frankly, if these Iowans and even people from other states around the country have come here to listen to me, and I made a commitment to be here, I'm going to do everything in my power to do it. So we drove 3 hours. I'm here, and we're going to keep our events intact in the Northwest. And I think that it says something about a candidate that hopefully, if you're going to lead this country, you can't just be a wilting flower when some basic things don't go your way. If this was truly a blizzard of a century, that'd be another question. It's not that. So I think people got to just toughen up a little bit, and I think that's gives you a little bit of sense of how I not only run this campaign,
You're not
but how
concerned about potential safety risks?
I don't. I think that people are equipped to make their own judgments, to be able to do what's right for them. And people who came here, we pray for their safety every day. I mean, look, I think that people should be driving more safely on the highways every day, but I'm not going to cancel my events over that. So that's the answer to your question.
Do you think the below freezing temperatures is going to stop Iowans from going to the caucus on Monday?
I want to learn more about what the weather is going to be. I mean, look, what do we know? Human beings come out a little bit less when they're cold. I think this is going to work to our advantage. Many of my supporters are not tepid supporters. The people who are supporting me because they believe in the vision I'm offering for this country, not because they're just absorbing something from the mainstream media's narrative of the way this race is going to go. So I predict that's going to be yet another factor that works in our favor, a smaller one compared to the basic fact that we have a lot of first-time caucus goers that are coming out in a tidal wave for me. But I think the Ramaswamy tsunami is not going to be deterred by the cold weather. And I think that that's something we're going to see even greater contrast with the other candidates, with the enthusiasm and vigor of our supporters. That's something we're seeing on the ground across the board, and I think that that's what we're going to see on Monday night as well. You can just you get 30 seconds each.
President Biden and NBC.
Okay.
President Biden and the administration have said that they're not going to accept a resignation from Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. What's your reaction to that?
I think Lloyd Austin is an unfit leader to be the Secretary of Defense, but I think that he is an embodiment of a deeper problem that we have in the military apparatus and in the deep state that I think actually wields a lot of the power in our foreign policy establishment. So my biggest problems with Lloyd Austin are policy differences, but I do think that non-transparency was unbecoming of somebody who's our Secretary of Defense, and he deserves to answer to the public for it.
Is being out here today, amid all the snow and everything as other, candidates have canceled events, is that part of your strategy to really catch up here and make your mark in Iowa?
I think the catch-up narrative is a made-up media narrative. I think the reality is on the ground since day one. I've been the person who's showed up with the greatest presence here. Actually, I've done more events than anybody else in New Hampshire as well. And I'm somebody who believes in meeting the people not through the media filters, but really in roomfuls where there's nothing that stands between me and the people who I report to. A lot of candidates fall into the trap of spending most of their time with donors in closed-door meetings or in phone calls all day, huddled up with what politicians call call time with their donors. Well, that's how they fall into the trap of thinking that those mega donors are their bosses. I prefer to spend the time with the people who are actually my bosses. It's the citizens of this country. And so I think that that's something that helps me and would have helped, I think, other presidential candidates stay more grounded about reminding themselves who they actually report to. For me, I have real clarity on that. It's the people of this country. Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys.
you.
Who are you with, sir? ABC News. Good to see you guys. Thank you. Thank you guys for braving the snow for being here. Appreciate it.
Safe travels.
See ya.
Nick, what do you think of the event?
It was good. I think I'm glad people came out in the snow. This gentleman from Florida came all the way to be here. A little bit of different kind of weather, but thank you for being here. So I'm going for another meeting, but I'm really grateful to be here.
in that other meeting, yeah.
Oh, good. Good. Oh, good. You are. I want to be respectful of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Big hump button.
Would you guys be open to just sitting on the bus? Let's come on to the bus, actually. Welcome to our office. Yeah. Your home. Our traveling office. Thank you. Thank you. Let's start now. Ready?